All right. Let's see if this works. All right, let's see if people can join and see if this is working. All right, I can see there are a few people online. Oh. All right, people are joining in, so I'm thinking that you guys can hear me. Let's see. All right, I think Q&A is different and chat is different. So I'm not sure if you guys are able to hear me just yet. Oh, there we go. So chat is different and Q&A is different, where Q&A is people can speak as well, which I think we want to here, just so it's not confusing. Oh, great, Michelle can hear me. So we can use the chat feature, which should be at the bottom, to talk, to ask questions and stuff, and then we can do that. Yeah, cool, nice, loud and clear, great. We've got 12 people, 12 successful people who have been able and successful to download the software, which is great. I know it's a bit difficult and it's a bit confusing. It was for us as well, because we're just trying this software out. If it works, that's good, because it's a little bit more organized and it's designed for webinars, which is great. Also, you'll see my name as Josh Reyes, which is one of my colleagues, because currently this version is registered under his name, and if it works, then we'll just get a proper one. Great. All right. I won't get into the nitty-gritty of stuff until everyone's here and before 1 o'clock, just so that everyone has a chance to get on here. But in the meantime, I know a few of you have already seen the new inbox feature, which is great. We've been testing it out this morning as well. Quite a few messaging going through, and it seems to be working good. And there are a few small things which obviously we expected, and it will, we'll keep working on it. I'm not sure if you guys can see, but there should be another Q&A panel just at the bottom of your screen. So if you do want to post questions, you can do that in there as well. And then towards the end of the webinar, I can answer those questions individually. I can see there are some raised hands, which I'm not entirely sure what it means. So maybe just use the chat or ask a question. It's funny that you have to raise your hand to do something. Cool. We've set up, or we've almost set up our gallery, which is great. We are also preparing for the Affordable Art Fair, which starts this week. So there's a lot of unpacking and there's a lot of transport going on at the moment. Sarah's crazy busy. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but I can still hear the tape being stretched out quite clearly from up here. She's just packing a bunch of artworks to be taken to the exhibition center here in Melbourne. And the actual art fair starts on Thursday, but we have to bump in tomorrow, so set everything up tomorrow and then get ready for the opening on Thursday or on Wednesday. Cool. Oh, Ivana, I'm glad you joined. I know you were having some difficulties before. I can still see some raised hands. I'm not sure what to do with that, to be honest, because if you have questions, you can just use the chat feature, which should be at the bottom, to chat. There should be a few options just under your screen. So you can use either the Q&A feature to post a question, or you can just use the chat feature to just put a message on, or if anything like that. Great. I can see people joining in, which is great. I'm hoping this will be successful trial of this, so we can use this for our future webinars as well. It's just a little bit better than YouTube. What YouTube did was they introduced a third party, which is a form of mediator between YouTube and the local computer. So essentially the video was being relayed through a third party, and that's why it was really slow and the quality was really low. I tried with it yesterday again, and it wasn't working at all, so that's why we just looked into different options. Cool. I'll just wait for a few more minutes, and then I'll jump into what's on agenda today. I will share my screen when we're doing. I'll share my screen when we're actually talking about the inbox as well. Ah, fantastic. God. I'm glad it sounds better. All right, you can save my face for a couple more minutes, and then we go into oh, good. Share screen. Great. Cool. 21 people and counting. That's fantastic. Sorry, stick with me for another 6 minutes. Oh, thanks, Karen. Just while we're waiting for other people to join in and before 1 o'clock, we have posted a couple more articles in the help center in the FAQ section for artists. I know there were a couple of posts on Facebook about commissioning artworks and just having difficulty when communicating with people on commissions, and just collectors being a little bit tricky. So we just posted a few points that might be important, and it's good to keep them in mind. We've dealt with quite a few of those in the past, and it's just from experience. I think just setting expectations beforehand is quite important. But yeah, take a look at that article. I'll share that later on in the group as well if you guys want. And we've just gone through and a few points that help us keeping the communication between folk, especially for commissioning artworks, keeping the communication quite clear and transparent, which helps. But there will always be tricky situations, and it helps sometimes when there's a third-party mediator. So if there's anything that we can help with, just loop us in. Cool. Brahma uses this. That's good. My colleague Josh uses this for for his webinars quite often, but because it's a little bit tricky for everyone to download and install Zoom. That's why we're using YouTube, but they made it quite difficult. So we're moving on to this now. Cool. No, Deborah, you haven't missed anything. We're just trying the thing out, so we'll just wait until 1 o'clock before actually talking about what we planned. Brahma, it's every 2 weeks. The last couple of weeks, we had to push this webinar ahead a little bit because we were waiting for the Bluethumb inbox feature to get done. It just took, it got delayed a little bit by a couple of days just because of a few issues. But the webinar is every 2 weeks. Tuesdays, 1 p.m. every other week. We usually send out an email a couple of hours before, just as a reminder. I send it up a little bit early just to give you guys time to download it and this and all that. Carol, I'm not sure how the chat display is showing while also seeing you guys. I'm not sure. I think from the bottom of your screen, if you click on chat, it will show up while you're still looking at the video. It might be different on your platform, but I'm not sure. Just give it a go. I'll share my screen later on so you can do that as well. Hi, Haley. Oh, hi, Amanda. Thank you. All right, this is looking positive. The Zoom is looking positive. So let's see if things go well. Hi, Don. Not necessarily. Sorry, Haley, you don't have to turn your audio off. I can't hear you. I don't think any one of you can actually talk. Great. All right, 1 more minute and we're going live. I mean, we're starting with the thing. Great. Oh, good. I can see 36 people, which is pretty good. I'm sure when we continue doing this, there will be more people there. I'll try to ask the team to be quiet. I'm sure they can. I'm sure they're watching this webinar as well, so they can be quiet. Yep, they're going to be quiet. All right. Someone just shouted at me from downstairs. Right. Maybe turn your audios off as well, or maybe turn it down. All right. I think we're ready to go live. All right, cool. So I'll just quickly go through what's on agenda today. We are talking about Bluethumb Inbox. It's a new feature where collectors can talk to artists directly through the inbox itself. It's designed like a chat. And also for every message, you also get emails. And if you don't have time or access to log into your Bluethumb inbox, you can reply via email as well quite quickly, and it goes directly to the collectors. Okay. Just with the chat, when you guys are replying, just make sure when you're sending the message out, it's selected as all panelists and attendees, just so everyone can see it. That's all. Thanks for raising that point, Eve. That's good. All right. Just going back to the point. So I'm just going to close the chat just so it's not distracting. So with the Bluethumb inbox, the way it's designed, it's like a chat where people can talk to you directly, and you can reply via Bluethumb inbox as well, or you can reply via inbox via your email directly. And so we've been working on it for almost about 3 or 4 months, just in the background. It's really an important factor, just because it's, the quicker people respond, the more chances there are for the sales to go through, and also just communicating with the artist directly. It's just a complete different feeling, and we wanted to make that happen in a way so that it's easier as well, and it doesn't really compromise with any of the safety features that we have. So this way is the best way to go ahead with that in that kind of sense. So what I want to do is I want to take you through, I'll share my screen, and I just want to take you through how it actually works, what it actually looks like, what happens, and just a few different things that you might want to keep in mind when using this kind of using this tool. So I'm just going to share my screen. Maybe just ping me to tell me that you can see my screen. Great. Okay. I'm assuming you guys can see my screen, so I'll move ahead because I can see some chats. Okay, great, cool. So this is what it looks like. When you log in as an artist, this is your dashboard. And so from your dashboard, just right here, there's an inbox feature. You can also go to it directly from anywhere from here. When you land in your inbox, if someone has sent you a message, it will show up here. So the more the messages, they will all be lined up right here. If you have 100 messages, you'll obviously have notifications. And these are just some sort of analytics tools. It just shows you how often you're responding. Ideally, responding under 20 minutes is great. The quicker you can reply, the better. So we've just put that in there just as a reminder, so it helps. And with the actual messaging, it's designed to be as clean and simple as possible, has some basic and important tools. So apart from when someone sends you a message, it comes through as that. So this is obviously a test message. And when you do that, it will tell you when it was sent, and you can reply to it just by typing here, which is pretty straightforward. There are a couple of things on the side here which are important, and I think it's good to keep in mind. So we've just outlined some of our policies and just a couple of things to keep in mind, which would be really handy. So you can click on here, and you should be able to read more in an article as well. Everything is laid out quite nicely. And also we've set up this price calculation. So when you are working with a client, say for example on a commission, and you need to quote for a smaller piece or larger piece, or something like that, just to make it easier, you can just put in width and height if you're sending it in a box, or if you're sending it rolled, then you can set a price in there, and it will show you exactly how much you should quote to the client, just so it's all inclusive, and there are no confusions or anything like that. So it works quite nicely, and I think we think it's a pretty good tool. I can see some chat messages coming, but I'll address them once I'm just through it, just so that I don't lose track of what I'm talking about. With the chat, you can also send images through here, which is a handy tool. Let's go away. And you can also attach listings. So say, for example, you wanted to send someone an artwork from your own profile. So you can do that as well. The way to do it is simply just copy the link of that artwork, and then you can go attach listing, and then you can just paste, and it will find your listing, and then you can just do that. And when I do that, when I send that, it will send it to them as an actual artwork. So when they get an email or when they see it in their inbox, they can just simply click on it and they can open that artwork, which is quite handy. Now, the way it works is, so there are two components to it. There's a chat feature. So if they are online as well and you're sending messages, they can see it immediately. And then there's an email factor as well. So say, for example, I've sent this message right now. The way we've designed it, it takes 5 minutes. It gives 5 minutes for you to send all the messages, and then it sends one email, and it combines all of those messages just to avoid buyers or collectors getting 20 different emails for every message that you send. So every time you send a message, every time you send a first message, it starts a count of 5 minutes, and all the messages that you send in those 5 minutes, it combines in one email and sends it to them, and they can reply to that as well, and works the same way for the clients as well. So if they're sending 20 messages within 5 minute period, it will send one email to you, so you're not getting spammed by 20 different emails. You can also just switch that on. If you're an artist, that means you already have a phone number in your profile. You can switch that on, and every time you get a new message, you will be sent a text, just a notification that you have a new message, and you can go check into your profile. When another important thing is you see that there's a conversation, and this is the first name of the collector that you're talking with. If they are a registered Bluethumb collector, and they've purchased from Bluethumb before, that means we verified their address, we verified them as a collector. You will see that under here, where it will say that this person is a verified Bluethumb collector. And as a buyer, they will see that you're a featured artist or a studio artist, or an artist here as well. So it will just give them an idea of who they're talking to as well. With the individual individual communication, like you can, when you're talking to them, and once you have finished them, you can archive them as well. Archiving is, it doesn't delete anything, it just sends it to your archive inbox. It's just a way, like if a particular conversation is finished, they've purchased the artwork or whatever, you can do that as well. And you should be able to archive individual messages as well, which should be around here, but I'm not seeing it at the moment, so I'll just check why that is. You should be able to individually archive messages as well, just so that they can go in your archived inbox. Some of you would have already seen what these emails look like, but I'm just going to try and show you what they look like. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen just for a second, and I'll open my email so I can show you what those emails look like and how you can reply to those emails to contact the clients directly. Almost there. All right. Great. Just going to share my screen again. Right. So when someone sends you a message, or you reply to your client, they get an email which looks something similar to this. So it tells them how many messages you send. It shows them the message itself. The image at the moment is not going through properly, but that should be fixed. And then it just, gives them just an idea of the message itself. And the good thing is that if they want to reply to you, they can simply reply to this message on the go from their phone, and it will come through straight to your inbox as well. And you'll also get a notification. So it's just designed so that you and the client can communicate with each other quite clearly without any hitches. So this is the actual tool. This is the actual feature of the whole thing. I'm just going to look at chat to see if anyone has any questions, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And then I'll just look at the questions and the questions in the chat just to make sure everyone's on the same page. And then I will go through the article that we've written on a few just, best practices, tips and tricks. If there's anything you should keep in mind. And then I'll also take you through the communication policy article, and then we'll just talk about the commissions and best practices on there as well. Cool, I'm just looking at the chat now, so just bear with me for 1 second. Great. Haley was asking, how do we get notifications? So when someone sends you a message for the first time, you'll get an email saying, hi Haley, this person sent you a message. They will have the message as well. So you can either reply directly to that email, or you can log into your Bluethumb inbox and you can reply from there. when you're applying for the first time, that time from your Bluethumb inbox, you will have the option to check that box which says notify me by text. So the next time they reply, you will get a text as well. Deb saying you don't have those sections on mine. Deb, you should definitely have the inbox tool in yours. Some of you won't have this promote section just because that's a part of the studio thing. But if you go here, you should be able to see inbox. If you're not able to see it, just maybe after the webinar, just let me know what platform, what sort of like browser you're using and what PC you're using, and I can just take a quick look. Jess is saying it would be better to have a frame price and the price calculator for those of us who do commissions as either framed or unframed as an option. Thank you, Jess. That's a good suggestion. It's not built in at the moment just because it doesn't apply to a wider audience, but that is a good option. We can definitely put that in. Michelle's asking, can we opt out of this feature? Not on not on a wide level. Just let us know that you don't want these messages coming through to you, and we can make that happen. Just let us know individually. There's no way to sort of opt out from your profile. Oh my God, Donna's saying, oh my God, don't know how I. Oh, okay, it's not a question. Good, I'm glad you made it, Donna. Deb saying, oh, I have the inbox, but not the pricing. So the pricing calculator will be individually in a particular conversation, not directly in your inbox. So I'm just going to share my screen again, just so I can show you that. So see, when I'm in the inbox directly, I won't see that pricing calculator, but when I go in a particular conversation, that's when you see it. So when someone sends you a message, you should be able to see that. Christine's asking, do we upload images only from our BT library? No, you can upload images from your own device. So if, from your phone, from your computer, whatever, you can quite easily do it. I'm glad you love it, Jess. We are pretty excited about this as well. Okay, great. I think that's the end of the basic questions. I think there's another question in the Q&A. Haley's testing Q&A. Great, I've answered that. Great. And Don's asking, will you be having this lesson in a video to learn more about and how to use it? Don, yes. We have planned to run a walkthrough video, and we will upload that on YouTube, and we're going to send out an email with a link to this webinar and also to that walkthrough so you can see it later on. So it's accessible. Ellie's asking, so this is compatible with the phones? Yes. So when you sign in onto your, it's not through the app just yet, but if you log into your account from a browser on your mobile phone, you should be able to see, send messages and all that normally as you do from your computer. Oh, great. Yeah, I know. I noticed that, Michelle. That's great. Yeah, some of the artists have already started using it, which is great. Again, before I go into the article and the do's and don'ts kind of thing, just wanted to say that this is a new feature, and it's a pretty complicated feature, as you can see. There might be small things here and there which are not working exactly the way they should. If you notice something, just send us an email on help, and we'll make sure that that's not the case anymore. Cool. All right. I will now go through an article. I'll just post a link here first so you guys can actually see it as well if you want to. It is available in the Help Center for Artists at the very top, so it shouldn't be hard to find. It just outlines basic I've just sent it on the chat, just maybe just see if you guys can access it and see it. I'm just going to share my screen anyway so you can see what I'm looking at. So on the help article, you can on the help page, you can actually see this article. It's just outlines how these things work and just what to keep in mind when you're talking to clients, especially a few different points, which so that it's not like so that everyone's sort of on the same page. So I won't go through it point to point. You can read it later on. Just with pricing, one thing to keep in mind, and we always suggest this, is you should always, whenever you're quoting to a client, you should always quote them one single price. By that, what I mean is, say for example, you're quoting $1,000 for the piece itself, and the shipping will cost, say, $100. So don't give them that breakdown. Just say $1,100 all inclusive. Because from just past experience, what we found is people, when they see different variables and breakdowns, there's more space for negotiations. So they will just say, oh, this seems too high, or I can pick it up, or this and that, all that kind of stuff. So it's just easier to say, here's one cost, and that's it. It involves everything, like they won't have to pay anything at all, and it just works that way. So that's what we would ask you to do as well. Just do that. And when working with commissions, just go through this article right here. It explains how Bluethumb works with commissions. It's designed in a way so it's safer for both clients and artists at the same time. I know it's been discussed on the Facebook group a little bit, but I'll just quickly explain why we do what we do the way we do it. What we do is we take a 30% non-refundable commission, non-refundable deposit from the collectors once the artwork price has been agreed upon by the artist and the client, and before the artist starts. We hold this, so this is not paid out directly to the artist straight away. We hold this 30% for the time period when the commission is on, and once the commission is complete and it's approved, the buyer pays the remaining 70%, and we ship the artwork to the clients, and the artist is paid in full as you would get paid normally for a sale. The question that has been, and if the buyer decides to return the artwork, we do return the artwork. They get refunded 70%. And the 30% goes to the artist in full. We don't keep anything in that case. We do get asked this question, why we hold that 30% and why the artist is not paid straight away. We have done that in the past, but it's just a safety measure, because we've had cases where a commission has not gone through from the artist side, and we've had the cases where the commission hasn't gone through from the buyer's side. So it's just a way for each party to be in the safe, just so that everything goes normally, just so that no one's left out if something doesn't go well. Yeah, anyway, so the point is that when you are working on commissions directly with collectors, just try to follow the same process. The way we ask them to put down a deposit is just by purchasing a gift voucher on Bluethumb for 30% value. What that does is they pay 30%, they buy a voucher, it stays with them, it has their own details, and once they've approved the artwork, the photos, and you've uploaded the artwork to Bluethumb, they then use that voucher and just pay the remaining 70%. So it's easier for them to do everything online. The artist doesn't have to do anything. We don't have to send bank details and check bank and all that kind of stuff. So it's just built in so that everything is just on the collector side, and it's quite easy for them to do as well. So when you're working with clients on commissions, just go through the same process, so it's easy. I know that some artists have brought up like taking more deposit. I would suggest not go more than 30%, because it would deter the clients a little bit. But if you think you want to charge more, I would say just check in with us beforehand. But if the client's happy, that's fine. But even with 30%, sometimes a lot of people are obviously scared of paying 30% of a particular amount when they know that they're not going to get it back. So it just sets them back, but it's also necessary. So I feel like 30% sort of like is that kind of sweet spot. If you go more, people might not want to put their money forward without knowing, that knowing that they're not going to get it back, kind of thing. So just check in with us, and I would say stick with 30%. That would be the best thing to do. There's another article that I'll go through today just quickly, is just communication terms. So just when you're communicating with clients directly, they're just a few points that I put in there to keep in mind. All right, I'm just going to check the chat again just to make sure there are no questions, no burning questions that I've missed. It's just going to stop. Okay. Great, no burning questions, fantastic. Great. Lisa's joined in. Haley's question has been answered. Dawn's question has been answered. Great, great. Fantastic. All right. The other article is this. I'm just going to post it in the chat again so you guys can see it. Go through it. It's nothing. Donna, yes, it will be available for replay. No problem. The communication guidelines, they are nothing groundbreaking, just simple, normal stuff that we've talked about before, but it's important to put that in writing. Just go through it just to make sure everything sort of seems okay in that sense. With the inbox and direct communication, and I think it's been outlined in the communication policy document quite clearly, it's just, you know, some basic sort of like communication etiquettes are expected from every party involved. So just, you know, be nice, be respectful. These conversations are occasionally monitored by us as well. So if you see that, you know, there's some sort of issue going on, then we might intervene and just, you know, do what is needed in that particular conversation. If you have any questions about those, just get in touch with us. Brahma, I'm not sure. I will take a look about that. To be honest, I'm as new on Zoom as you guys are. So I'll just check if there's a thing that there's a switch that I can turn on. Cool. So that's pretty much it on the inbox side. So it just gives you a basic idea on how things work and just what things you should keep in mind. I do want to discuss very quickly just an article that we've published on, just going to share my screen again, on commissioning artworks. When you're talking to clients and when you're sort of like working with clients on commissions and stuff, just based on a few things that have happened in the recent past, we thought that it was going to be a good idea to just put that in writing. So we've put this article right here, so you can see, and it just has a few basic things. There's, again, like there's nothing that we've invented on this. It's just basic stuff that it needs to be set before a commission starts. So just setting expectations on everything, making sure that each party understands what they're in for, kind of thing, and just a couple of things just keeping in mind. So just go through it. I'll share this link with you as well. I'm not going to go through point by point. It's pretty straightforward. Stop share. Great. We need to keep lines open in the studio in case we get messages. Thank you, Don. We're really excited. I hope their cues, not too sure if I understand what you mean, but I'm glad you're excited. Great. Yeah, so the commissions part is also important. The article that I've just shared, it's just important to set expectations before you start painting so that they know what they can do, especially when it comes to revisions. So it's really important to set that beforehand, that, you know, they can do one round of revisions or say 2 rounds of revision, because if you haven't discussed that before, it's just an understanding that you will make changes until the client's happy, and it's a dangerous path to go down on. Same thing happens with, especially when you are painting, say for example, a portrait or an artwork contains it involves sort of a figure based on a photograph or something, it's important to set an expectation of how realistic that's going to be. So it's just important to discuss that beforehand in terms of pricing. And if you think that it's going to be a difficult commission, make sure you price it that way, because what happens is initially, if you don't think it through, you would charge, you know, say for example, a little bit less if you want to get the sale, but then it becomes complicated, and then it becomes more work than it's worth. So it's just a matter of having that discussion beforehand and setting those rules beforehand before you actually start painting. Jill, when we communicate for commissions, we go with one round of revisions. We try to not do more than that. But again, it's an understanding. So say, for example, if an artwork is based on a previous artwork, then it's usually very straightforward, and the buyer knows what they're expecting, the artist knows what they're painting. But if it's something based on an idea or just something abstract, then you have to be really careful and just say that, you know, revisions, you can say 1 or 2 revisions. Or if you're confident enough, you can say until you're happy. It just depends on you, like how you're going forward with it. A lot of the times, and a lot of the artists, when it comes to commissioning, and it works for some people. So you know, it's not a precedent lie. It works for some people. So a lot of the artists, what they do is they don't take it as a commission, rather they take it as a request. What that means is, say for example, I want a piece from them, and they would say, all right, I'm going to paint a piece based on those requirements, but you're not obligated to buy it. So that takes the pressure away from the artist. If it doesn't suit the buyer, so say once it's finished, the buyer says, oh, it's, you know, can you do this revision or that revision, and if the artist is not happy, they just won't do it. That way the buyer hasn't paid anything. The artist is happy to just sell that piece separately. Some artists do that, but we don't ask anyone to do that, because, you know, everyone has different sort of approaches to things. So in terms of revisions, I would just say base that on the complication of the actual artwork. So if you think you're confident that you might be able to get it in one go, do that. If you think it's very abstract and you don't know how many revisions they're going to be, just set that to be 1 or 2, or no revisions in that case. Just go with that kind of thing. Cool. I think that was a pretty long answer to that small question. Apart from this, I think this is all that there is about that I wanted to talk about with the Bluethumb inbox and the commissions. There are just a couple of small points, completely unrelated, that I'll just quickly talk about. So we have the affordable art fair that is starting on Thursday and goes until Sunday. So the team's quite busy in there. Sarah's handling that. Mostly Alex and Freddie and I are helping out as much as we can. So that's in Melbourne. So if you are around and if you do want to visit, just get in touch and we can share the tickets, because I'm not sure. I think if you come on that day, you'll have to pay for those tickets. But if you register from here or like online, you can get free tickets. So just let us know if you want to come in. But you know, if you're away, that's fine. The other thing is some of the artists were having some issues about some of the featured artists were having some issues about their new art not showing up in the new art feed, and I just wanted to quickly address that. We have made a little bit of a change just to sanity check a little bit. So, and a lot of these changes are sort of based on the feedback that we get. So it's just based on a little bit of a formula. But if there are a lot of artworks which are under like $150 or $100, they might not show up in the new art feed immediately. Just so that we can keep a healthy balance of pricing in the new art feed on the page 1 and page 2. So if you do upload an artwork which is under $200, and if you don't see it in the new art straight away, don't worry, it will show up. It just waits so that there's a good balance in pricing. of the artworks that are showing up in the new art. That's all. Because I know some of you guys were talking about it on the Facebook group, and a couple of you reached out to me directly, so I thought I'll just talk about it. Cool. I'll wait for questions if there are any. I've done pretty well with time, which is great. And that's pretty much it from my end in terms of what I wanted to talk about. With the inbox feature, feel free to give it a test if you want, just to see how things work. And hopefully you will get real messages from real collectors quite soon. If you have any questions about them, or if something doesn't make sense the way it's working, just let us know. Lisa's saying, I don't know why, but emails from Bluethumb are not coming through to me on my normal email anymore. I don't know how to answer that, Lisa. Just maybe just, which emails are you talking about? Are you talking about the ones that, say, for example, I sent an auto email this morning about the webinar? If that's the one, we can test why it's not going to your email. Maybe just try changing. Maybe just try changing your email address in your Bluethumb profile to something. Save it, log out, log back in, change it again. Sometimes that fixes things. I'll take a look from my end after the webinar just to make sure. Donna's asking, Adelaide visit is when, please? Adelaide, we have a small team that works from Adelaide, and we go there from time to time if there are events or just to work with the team. But I personally have a visit planned up in mid-September, just because there's a small event that we'll have to attend. But we don't have sort of like a get-together plan just yet in Adelaide. Ivana's saying 2 of my paintings were over 200 but did not show up in the new art. Ivana, like I said, that those are, so it's designed so that it has a balanced display. So even if it's above 200, it sometimes might not show up immediately, but it will show up eventually. Will Bluethumb be following up with the clients who have contacted via inbox? If need be, Michelle, if they haven't responded to you immediately, I would say maybe follow up like after a few hours if it's urgent. But usually what we do is we usually give them a day if it's not super urgent, just so that they're not annoyed or like they get back to us when they have a free minute kind of thing. But if you need us to follow up something, just ping us and we can follow up. If we think something is really important, then we can follow that up from our side as well. Lisa's saying lots of people in the FB group are saying they can't get into the webinar. I know it's a new software and they will have a few questions eventually. I mean, in the beginning, but I'm sure they'll eventually figure out. They'll figure this out. The recording of this will be available anyway, so they can have a look at the whole thing, and the next time maybe they'll have a bit of time to do that. I'll get to the QA questions quite soon. Just going through the chat at the moment, Haley. Amanda's saying, I was thinking it might be good to have our soul works visible. Often commissions come from people seeing these. Are they visible to our collectors and just not on my dashboard? They are visible to everyone, Amanda. So if you go to your profile, there are separate tabs for available and sold artwork. So when you mark something sold or when you sell something on Bluethumb, it goes to your sold tab. So people can quite easily look at it. Even when people are searching, there's a filter where they can see sold artworks into the search as well. Michelle's saying, oh, okay. Yes, Donna, that is correct. If it doesn't show up in the new art straight away, if someone searches, they can still see it pretty much immediately. Haley's saying, I logged in early. I had to relog when you were online to get up and running. Okay. Okay, cool. I'm just going to go to the Q&A. Haley's asking, will we get results from the survey? Is there more to the blog section coming? DP, do we just keep going while it's being refined? The blog, the in the studio function, it is getting a few changes. I think Julian's been leading that front. And I think with the feedback that we've received from the artist from the survey, there will be a few changes in there. The idea is to make the in the studio blog a little bit more visible on the site as well, so people can come in and just sort of go through things that should come in. So a lot of the features with the new changes that have come in. So we've rolled them out so you guys can run with it, test it, and based on the feedback, we're going to make changes on what's working and what's not. So it just might take a little bit of time, because when we get feedback from artists, it's quite the feedback is quite spread out. So we have to take some time and sort of collate it, and then make sure come up with a solution that works with everyone. So before we actually implement it, just so that it's thoroughly tested kind of thing. Kathy's asking, do we now need to do the communicating that you guys used to do for us? Kathy, you can. If you don't want to, just let us know, and those messages will now come to you, and we can do the communicating for you. The tool is just made so that it's quicker, and you guys, because collectors a lot of the times want to directly talk to the artists, and initially the way, it's much better than sort of like sharing your contact details straight away before knowing who the person is. So communicating via Bluethumb is a safe way, because they don't get to see your personal details. Even when you reply by email, they don't get to see your personal details. So it's a good sort of protected way of talking to people you don't know through Bluethumb. Cool. I'm just gonna mark these ones answered. Cool. Jeff, if you're not seeing all the chat, there might be some replies that are not sent to all attendees and panelists. It's a new platform, so everyone's sort of getting used to it. Just before anyone types anything, in the do section, just make sure you change it to all panelists and attendees, just so that it goes to everyone. Cool. All right, fantastic. Great. That's all that I have at the moment to share. I'm sure you guys will have follow-up questions. Just reach out to us via email. I think that's the best way to go, and we can get back to you straight away. Cool. I will end this webinar now. Haley, the new space is pretty good. We've set up a meeting room up here with some beautiful art. Ignore that space right now, because that's still storage, and we've got some beautiful artworks here as well. It's coming along really well. Our official opening is in October, most likely the beginning of second week. Either Sarah or we will be in touch with the exact date and an invite for the opening quite soon. Great. Okay. Cool. Thank you, guys. All right. I was just going to say that I will release the video of this. We'll upload this on YouTube, and we will send an email just so that everyone involved gets a link. All right, cool. All right, see you guys in 2 weeks. Perfect.